Good morning, Phathizwe. We're speaking to Phathizwe from Sqwidnet. For you that don't know, Phathizwe is the managing director of Sqwidnet, which is a Sigfox operator in South Africa. We're doing a one-shot, one-on-one interview to see what COVID means for IoT and getting different perspectives on the industry as a whole, right now and moving forward. So, Phathizwe, welcome for joining us. If you can maybe give a quick introduction, and then we can start.
Thanks. I'm very happy to be here. Here still where I am, but hopefully projecting to where your screen is.
Yeah, this lockdown story.
Indeed, we're excited to be hopefully part of the solution when it comes to COVID. IoT, the Internet of Things, I think is an integral part of the digitization of industry. And what COVID is making us realize is we need to really pay attention to our digitization efforts, move ourselves into a position where we know far more about a lot of the aspects of our world than before. So hopefully we can lend a part.
Interesting. So the funny thing for me is in the last week or so, I mean, we started this last week sometime, and we've already had some reactions towards it, and people not knowing before what IoT means to them, especially with regards to the sort of digital twin approach in terms of factories and companies that now no longer has the feet on the ground to see what is happening, but the companies would like to carry on with production and things like that. What has your sort of experience been? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, and the first thing, when we heard that we're going to be going into lockdown from our point of view was, okay, so is everything going to shut down? No one's going to be using our network. And of course, the essential services part of government came about. And so we knew, okay, we'll be there, we'll be making sure we provide our connectivity. But to your point, it's not the whole supply chain. So now you've got factories that are saying, okay, if I'm not on essential services, I need some visibility into my factory. And in what way can I get that visibility? Oh, good, IoT is an essential service, but then we don't have the product because they still have to manufacture it. People like Nerospec have to actually make the product, and they have to get their components in. So we're starting to understand how interconnected even remoteness is. We've seen a lot of requests for understanding. But more importantly, we've got needs now that we didn't have before, that we somehow in this chaos need to figure out how to fulfill. And when I think about it, I also think, is this the new normal? It's not temporary. When we get out of this, a lot more people want to be far more aware of what their assets are doing, what their things are doing, where their resources are, and what their people are up to in terms of generating value.
Look, I mean, I think you touched on a valuable point there. Right now, in the state of where we are, IoT is not seen, at least not in South Africa, as a vital service yet, or essential service as of yet. But I definitely see this being a catalyst for not only the faster adoption of IoT right now in these sort of industries, but for governments and legislation bodies and things to start seeing how IoT can play a role going forward in trying to mitigate some of this pandemic as it pans out and future pandemics or other crises that might come up. I mean, some of the stuff that we've seen this week with regards to that really could help with IoT was specifically in the sort of agricultural market. Farmers that runs greenhouses and things like that would like to know when to remotely activate sprinkler systems and things like that, but they just don't have the visibility on the ground. And I mean, that specifically made me think of Sqwidnet and Sigfox more to the point, because it was deployment where you don't necessarily know where this customer is going to come from. And that revolves itself very out nicely to sort of Sigfox business model. So have you guys seen any of that sort of on the ground vertical uptake?
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see it. I mean, these water tanks. I mean, government just distributed 400,000 water tanks, or in the process of distributing 400,000 water tanks. They've purchased them, and no one has yet asked the questions. Are those water tanks going to have water when they're out in the field. How will we know they have water? Will we get to them in time to replenish them? Because you've got to wash your hands in this COVID world as the first preventative measure. And so we're starting to see the right questions being asked: are there solutions? Is there technology that can give us these answers with these remote assets? We're seeing it in terms of ventilators. The automobile manufacturing wing of the world has been taught via some open spec how to convert their machinery to start producing ventilators, because ventilators are going to be there, or are the next big thing in terms of the fight against COVID. But these ventilators get sent sometimes to areas that were expected to have a big hit, but then there isn't a big hit, but in another area there is a big hit. Where's the ventilators? I think it was the state of Washington sent back some ventilators to the federal government so that they get redistributed back to New York. And we find ourselves in this world where, the old adage is exactly the opposite. The old adage being, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. That's the little joke that we've always had as a running, not being aware of certain levels of detail. In this world, what you don't know is what hurts you when it comes to the COVID space. So you want to get into a space where you understand everything absolutely about your asset in terms of utilization and whereabouts. And that's kind of where I think we'll see the first wave of IoT being rapidly adopted. And it's going to have a myriad of challenges because we need to manufacture these things. They need to come off the floor working, and they need to get to parts of the country that were previously didn't have that kind of connectivity reliability. And that's kind of where Sqwidnet comes in. There's cell phone towers aren't necessarily an issue, but that's very heavily linked to electricity. And if we start seeing patterns of disruption in our electricity, the theft in terms of cell phone batteries start going up, and we're in a world where you don't know if the battery was stolen, and the number of people that go out of communication. So we're expecting to see a high uptake in that area as well. And then the last one that I've always observed that it's been happening in the first world, because the first world had a need and we didn't have the need, which is service buttons. Having a button from your reliable supplier of X toilet paper. Let's go with the COVID problem. For you to get your reliable 2-ply clean saver toilet paper before the last roll runs out. What you could do if you're in London or if you're in the US is you got this service button and you press the service button and it would automatically send a message to, let's say, Take a Lot, of the people that deliver all your toilet paper needs. And just by you pressing that button, that particular product, they know who pressed it, who needs it, and they just dispatch quite quickly. I think as we go on within the lockdown, and maybe even outside of the lockdown, we're going to have these essentials that we really can't afford to wait on. And so we're going to start seeing this running low on supplies buttons starting to pick up, which are an auxiliary service, but a very important one in the fight against COVID. So those are the kinds of things that I'm starting to see and expecting when it comes to the IoT in South Africa.
Look, 100%. I mean, you've mentioned something interesting there. So one of the things that we've picked up recently, which makes sense towards this type of applications, is your bins. So instead of having a scheduled bin pickup, you have sensors inside the bin, which tells the workers when the bin needs to be cleaned out to try and mitigate some of this risk to the virus. So only going to points when it's needed. Which has other benefits going forward for the companies implementing these things, not just for these crisis moments. But I really do believe that this is sort of the catalyst that was required, sort of the silver edge to the dark cloud, to get people moving forward.
We work with a material recycling facility that's out in Pretoria, owned by UGS Enviro, and a lot of the stuff that they pick up from our homes they try and take out to this recycling facility to try and recycle as much of our waste as possible before you chuck what you can't recycle into the ground and hope it's organic. And what they have is on dedicated days, they've had the normal flow of traffic that they couldn't deal with, the different garbage trucks arriving, and there's a weigh bridge for them to come in. So you don't just, arrive, chuck your waste and leave. These people are rewarded based on the volumes and how many times they've gone there. And there's parameters around waste. And so when a truck arrives at this MRF, this recycle facility, it has to go onto this weigh bridge, and stuff has to be recorded, and then it's allowed in, and no two trucks in at the same time. So social distancing before social distancing. And to your point now, we're all sitting at home, and all of our garbage is tenfold what it normally is, heading out to these places. And with simple stuff like IoT, they can start getting clever about the logistics of it. Don't send these trucks while those trucks are still busy collecting. Don't go collect over there because it's lockdown, and the people that are normally there aren't there. They're now back at their homes. Those kind of on the fly redirection. You're absolutely right. It's probably going to become key now. Yeah.
100%. Okay. And just as a last question, it's sort of a futuristic question, if you like. What do you think the sort of IoT means going forward once we come out of lockdown, and especially with the new rating of South Africa's junk status with Moody's and so on? Can IoT play a role in terms of getting us out of this crisis, or certainly contribute towards it?
Absolutely, I do think so. I think half the planet's on lockdown, and so economic, as bad as us going down the Moody's road and not just Moody's, the other, I think S&P also just really downgraded us. It's going to be a global problem, and at the same time we need to improve our products. We need to improve our qualities of life. We need to be more resilient than we have been up until now. This isn't the most fatal of diseases, but it's the highest highly contagious one. What happens when one is even more fatal? So we move into the space where we no longer can afford the luxury of wasting resources towards improving our products. We need to be really zoned in, and so resource integrity or resource visibility, if we call it that, especially when those resources are remote, it's going to be very key. And that's the first level of, I think, IoT that we can play once we get out of this, making sure that people's assets are safe and making sure that they're working and they're producing stuff efficiently. But beyond that, we are also moving into this remote world. So we're going to have a new level of connectedness. Our connectedness was very collaborative, very physical interaction. Now we're going to have this. We're going to need a high level of connectivity, but with remote interaction, or as much remoteness that we can afford in the industry that we're in. And so once we get into those spaces, we're going to start looking to IoT, and especially the artificial intelligence side of things, the machine learning side of things, so we can start making better predictions, so that it's not just efficient what we're doing, it's the least waste. That we're going into that Toyota Kata world almost. This is the 8th level of waste that has been discovered. And that, I think, is a great place for IoT to sort out. In terms of us working from home, I think the things that we care about, the things that matter to us, even at a consumer level, at an individual level, we'll start realizing isn't stuff we can walk out to all of the time, and isn't stuff we want to walk out to in a world that's become a little bit more dangerous in terms of distance. So we're going to start seeing the need for people to measure a whole lot more things that give them a better quality of life remotely. And I think in that consumer space, just as much as internet had email, nobody knew what internet was or what it was for, and it was really for a very elite few number of people. But the moment we moved our communication from postbox into email, everybody then kind of understood the power of the internet.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't, in lots of places, they probably say they don't have internet, but they've got email. That's how important email is. And I think that's what we're going to start seeing in terms of IoT. I think we're going to see this word IoT fall away, and we're going to have a new word, the word that represents this constant awareness of remote things that will start coming about, and people are going to say, oh, so is that what the IoT was all about? And I think I'm looking forward to an ordinary person in the South African context, in a township or in a rural area, getting the benefit of IoT, just like that very same person can send their CVs when looking for a job via email, taking advantage of IoT.
Awesome. Phathizwe, thank you for talking to us today.
Cool.
I'll put the descriptions and the links if anybody wants to get in touch with Phathizwe or myself. Please have a look. Thank you, Phathizwe. Thanks again.
Thanks so much. Stay home. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.